Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Enmity Podcast, your Star Wars The Old Republic podcast. We're bringing you everything Star Wars The Old Republic as it comes in to you. All right, tonight we have me, Raging Rondo, Ignitia, and Big with us, and this will be your panel tonight as we go into one of our pretty good discussion I think we have tonight. And we are brought to you by Ultra Sabers. These are some of the more premier lightsabers in the industry. Right now, I am showing you my Graflex. This is the Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. You can get it yourself with sound, whatever color you want that's available. That will be at 42gaming.com. At the top, you can just see where it says Ultra Sabers and click there.
And if you want to help support us, remember to go out to 42gaming/prime and sign up for the free trial for Amazon Prime.
So, moving forward tonight, I mentioned that we had a great subject matter for you, and we're going to start off with HK47 and the implications that of what it tells us about Revan and Malgus. Okay, we got some interesting topics from there. We're going to move on to Reddit news, and then we're going to do some hardware. Big has put together, and well, Big and Ignitia have put together some hardware for us to sort of get you down. What plays right Big? It's got something to do with what plays Star Wars: The Old Republic the best, or a good build, right? Or not the best, but a good
Yep,
build
good,
for cheap.
good, yeah, decent build with a nice affordable price tag that you can do whatever you need to do in Star Wars, run some operations, DSF, or some PvP.
Okay, so yeah, keep a lookout for that. That's going to be at the end of the cast. So we're going to move on to HK47 and what it sort of tells us about Revan and Malgus. And this is interesting. This is something I talked about last week about we were gonna go into this and we were gonna do some fishing about and see if we could find any information on what's really going on. And so the first thing we did is we ran Foundry. This is where we first get HK47. Um, so when you first saw HK47 and he was talking to us, what did you take from that, Big, especially when we that's before the reveal that that we're talking to Revan in Foundry, correct?
Correct. I mean, that is our first introduction to in the Old Republic to HK is with the Foundry. So, and I mean, I wasn't a player of KOTOR, so this was my first introduction to HK in the actual lore. So, seeing him for the first time just kind of, was just a cool droid that was trying to kill me. Not till later on did you actually get for me, get to learn the lore. And and actually reveal how integrated we believe that he's in with the story.
Yeah. So we get him. We're sitting there. We're fighting him, and then we move on to Revan. Which so if you hadn't played KOTOR, this was your first. Well, you get introduced to him? Did you do the Revan quest line, Ignitia or Big on what Drum and Koss, right?
Correct, with his followers or his cult. So you get the I forget what title you get, like Revanite or something like that. I think is
Hmm.
the title you get. So yeah, to me it's just as like any other Sith or something like that. When you start out, that he had some followers, and you don't think much at him at the time.
Well, you didn't because you didn't play KOTOR. I think if for anybody who played KOTOR, that we were just astounded. We were just like, "Fight! Wow, Revan! They're talking about this guy." And yeah, Ignitia probably played KOTOR. We got to get a little bit of lore behind Revan, where they talked about, well, he was good, but he was bad. And you got to choose to do your own. How do you remember Revan? Do you remember that he was a Jedi? So there, you got your good and your bad side choices that you can do there. Um, so now let's move on. We get to fight him, and he talks at the end, and he talks about. Well, actually, let's go back. He spouts off this entire time about being light side, right? And I think we talked about this, that he is light side, and now he's done the Sith side, but he's reformed. But the stuff that he is doing is not really, to me, dark side. I mean, light side. It seems like he's got a little bit of a darkness in him, especially when he's talking about using the droids to kill off entire species, the entire Sith species, man, women, children. He wants to take them all out. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean,
Yeah, I mean that is definitely a Sith mentality is to sacrifice the many for the the good of the cause. It's generally the Jedi way is to sacrifice yourself. Be willing to sacrifice yourself for whatever battle you're trying to fight or whatever evil you're trying to take down, but not sacrificing many women, children, innocent people that have nothing to do with the war just to stop the actual empire.
and I think HK-47 in that fight says, well, that's 90 some odd percent of the Imperials. Like he's talking about a mass genocide of people. That's not light side, so
Hmm. He's a bona fide schizophrenic. He's going schizo on people, just straight up. He's just losing it.
yeah. So I mean, we
Yeah, I
we
mean
we know from the other side that he was taken over by he was kept alive by the Emperor, and the Emperor was controlling him. And so, like, the guy's got to be a little nutso at this point in time.
yeah, he was in like stasis for like 300 years while the emperor was kind of draining him. But at the same time, he was, influencing the emperor and kind of keeping him at bay and keeping him. I forget the exact story. Well, he was docile, essentially stopping him from destroying the entire galaxy.
Yeah, and so like if you in the spoiler, I mean, hopefully everybody's played through these portions, but he's actually upset.
It's 2 years, hopefully. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been
So
2
he's
years.
actually
Hopefully, everyone's
upset
got to.
that they actually get him out of there, and so because now because he's been keeping the Emperor docile, he's like, well, wait a second, come on, guys, why'd you let me out? This is I was keeping the Emperor docile. And so now let's move on. We're fighting him, and I think there's some really telling facts about whether or not Revan is dead or not when you look at what Revan says in his last moments on the Foundry, right, Big? I mean, we looked into it, and there's a couple different ways that you can take. And let me repeat what he says for you guys, so and we can talk about his final words that we know of in the KOTOR universe. He says, "As the darkness takes me, I understand how you felt, my friend." And at that point, if you slow it down, he goes translucent and he turns into lightning, or not lightning, but a large lightning storm happens. So, what do you think about those words, Ignitia?
Well, I think it's not him. On all honesty, not portraying that he's dead. I believe he's very thoroughly alive. I think he's actually just he's taking into going into the dark side, and it because in all evidence that's being shown that he never dies. I mean, you get him down to 10% and then he goes supernova on us. So and with that, I mean, he's quoting his best friend, which was Darth Malak, previously, and when they fought in KOTOR, he killed Malak, and there was a statement being said that was the same exact thing about why going into the darkness they believe they are nothing.
Okay, so I guess the way I could see it too is like, as I die, I feel as if I'm nothing. Or, I mean, I'm on the table too. Or you can say, as the darkness takes me, as the anger, or as the insanity slowly melts me. Because if he was light side, why would he turn into lightning? Or why would there be a
Yeah, I mean,
lightning discharge, a force lightning discharge?
he he could have possibly realized that that he actually was indeed going to the dark side, and then maybe just wanted to just run away. I mean, there's now with the what is it, the assassins get the ability to teleport, and so there's been somewhat of Star Wars lore of few Sith and Jedi being able to teleport. So it could just be something where he realized it and he just needs to get out of there, and he's hoping that you'll stop what he was trying to set up as far as the assassination of innocent people. So, but
Hmm.
there's also been times in the Star Wars lore where people have turned themselves to Force ghosts, and they later on come to influence other people, other Jedi or other Sith down the road. There's been past Sith ghosts and stuff like that, Exar Kun and a few others that stuck around and had their Force presence being able to. I mean, a couple of them even able to inhabit someone else's body. So if he is technically dead, his Force essence could inhabit someone else's body, or like you were saying earlier, Rondo, it could be a trick that he learned from the Emperor, or just his power was so strong that he has that ability to lure some weak Jedi or some weak Sith in and be able to possess his body. So one way or another, I think we'll see Revan again.
Well, I think what I was talking about there, and I think it's something we all talked about, was that Revan was what? He was controlled by the Emperor for 300 years, right? So he was keeping the Emperor docile. How could he not have learned something from the Emperor? And we talk about the Emperor having multiple bodies because he's the what? Even you kill the Emperor's hand, which is the body or the voice of the Emperor, who the body,
Voice.
who the Emperor controls, right? So, I mean, maybe we won't see Revan in the same vessel that we saw him in before, but I don't see why he could not have learned something from the Emperor to keep himself alive. I mean, that the darkness definitely being tainted by that darkness and linked with that darkness. After a while, you start forcing a bond, and many of the Jedi, say in like the Uzu Vong series, um, they have a mind meld that they do so that they can go better, and there's a point where you stop understanding which one which one is which, and this is huge lore in the Star Wars The Old Republic books, right? If anybody hasn't read them, it's the Uzu Vong series where the Jedi are being taken out, and they have to link with each other, but what happens is they they become so linked that it's almost like they become one person. And so why would could that not happen between the Emperor and Revan, where Revan could actually learn from the Emperor?
I don't see any flaws in that thought right there. I mean, it makes absolute sense. And on top of that, I mean, Revan was inherently both light and dark. I mean, he uses force lightning and everything like that. So it wouldn't be surprise me if he actually tried to learn some dark side secrets off the Emperor while he was uh, trying to challenge the mind of the Emperor himself.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I say, yeah, when he dies, it is an interesting combination that you brought up with the lightning, because we had Obi-Wan and a few other Jedi's in the past that turned into a kind of a force, vanish away. But like he said, with the mix with the Sith lightning, it could just be that maybe he did find that balance with the Force, and there's been a couple in the Star Wars lore that have had that quote unquote balance where they basically become one with the Force, and so yeah, again, I don't think we've seen the last of them.
Okay. So everybody could be asking, well, why are you guys talking about this? Well, I said that this shows a link between the sightings of HK-47 when I sort of announced this, and they're like, well, what do you mean a droid? Okay, yeah. Well, we all know that the droid appears yet again in False Emperor, right? I mean, we've all fought him in False Emperor. Everybody who's had a level 50 has probably done False Emperor, and there's HK-47 again. What does that say about the storyline right now? And for me, it says that there's got to be a link there, because why would Malgus, with no prior connection between this droid, repair this droid, and not only repair it but give him updates and stuff
Give it
like that?
upgrades.
And one thing Revan says before he dies is he says a droid can be repaired.
Hmm. The droid could be repaired, but I mean, at the same time, it's you know, the thing was is what Revan was stating was like you know, you can destroy him and I can repair him, but he'll never be the same. That was the whole deal that he was trying to push.
Yeah, he does say he'll
And
never
No.
be the same. He does say that.
Oh, I missed that part. But I mean, I think he's essentially kind of implying that he's going to kill you and then rebuild his droid.
Right.
But it is interesting that Malgus would go out of his way. I mean, it's especially he's a Sith. He's not really sentimental. If you read the book, there was one case of that, but we won't go into that one.
Yeah,
But
that's
why
a
would he be
whole nother
sentimental?
podcast of its own.
But why would he be sentimental about droid? Why would he care about going through the efforts of doing this HK assassin droid? He's Malgus. He's the badass. He doesn't need this droid to do it unless maybe it had some special connection to him. Maybe because maybe he was somehow tied in with Revan and wanted to keep up that droid that it somehow served him. So
No,
there's got to be some reason why.
I don't see it, man. I do not see Malgus. Uh, I do not see him making this droid or remaking this droid just out of, I don't know, just to do it. I don't see it. And okay, here's the other thing. I think that the droid was never mind wiped either, because here's one thing that happens. He says, "I've been waiting for this for a long time." When you fight him on False Emperor, he says, "I've been waiting for this." Therefore, meaning he remembers us. And the second thing I'm also saying is that when what does he say? He says, "I've been waiting for this for a long time." Oh, and then he talks about how he's been upgraded. So for me, I feel as if he remembers the fact that he was not upgraded before and he is now, therefore saying that he wasn't mind wiped. He also knows that his master is Malgus. So if he wasn't mind wiped, he remembers Revan. So one, Revan is dead. Malgus repaired him. Malgus is his master, right? And because if he remembers Revan, that would mean in order to have a new master, Malgus or Revan would have to be dead. Number two, Revan's actually helping Malgus, and that I think is what we're trying to say here is that there is a good chance in my mind, and I know Ignitia will fight me on the droid and what he says and what he actually meant by it. But what I will say is that in my mind, Revan is actually helping Malgus, and I think that those two are coming back together. I mean, what do you think about that, Ignitia?
well, I agree with you on the Malgus issue. There was a lot of personality traits that seemed to change with the evolution of Malgus, with all the Flashpoint quest lines where you talk to him via the holo terminal. But on the same sense, though, I mean the HK unit, I don't see. I see where there's a connection because of the fact that Malgus actually uses HK, but the fact is he doesn't remember you. He's been waiting to defend his master of all things, which was Malgus at the time, and he just got upgraded. Hence why I actually believe he had a mind wipe. Uh, I mean, or yeah,
So
he
if he
got
had the
wiped.
mind wipe, do you still see a connection there? Like, so say he is mind wiped. Is there still a connection where you guys are now still Malgus and Revan are helping each other? Do you see that there could be a connection there?
Yeah, I do see there's a connection, and it's not based off HK. Well, I see it based off HK-47 for the fact that Malgus kept it. That was it. I mean, it was destroyed. It was completely obliterated. It's done. It was gone. All right. I mean, he just picked it up, repaired it, mind wiped it, upgraded it, and just let him use it to freaking serve his own personal needs. But at the same time, when it came to the personality traits of Malgus, with the evolution of the whole storyline going from Flashpoint to Flashpoint to Flashpoint, it's you see a vast change in Malgus, and that was something that actually caught me off guard and actually participating in this investigation.
Well, so
I mean,
Comrade
Malgus.
Waffles also says something. He says, uh, "Is it this same HK 47?" And in the history of this Star Wars: The Old Republic, there is no other HK-47. There's no other ones that are made. There's no other one. I mean, it has to be. He alludes the fact that he was repaired, and he also talks about the fact that he was upgraded. So why would he allude to those facts if it wasn't the same HK? I mean, maybe we're jumping to conclusions that it's him, but I would say that it definitely through what we know about the game that it's him.
Well, there's that one kind of
They
techie
and
dude
what
that
he's
you.
saying is they consider they introduce multiple HKs, but they don't include HK-47s. They include HK-51s. There's only one HK-47 in the lore.
I mean, right before Malgus, and when you're fighting HK, there's that I don't remember his name, but the guy that's kind of controlling the facility, and you can either kill him or have him overload the terminal so the station blows up. Um, so he built HK and was like, hey, Malgus, look, I got you a droid. That is a possibility as well too, and it could just be as simple as that. But but if you move a little bit forward to when we actually start fighting Malgus, you know, tor- well, do you want to get to that part now, or?
Oh yeah, so I mean we there's obviously you have to okay, so my last thing on HK-47 from Foundry and False Emperor is that I do think that it is the same one just because I feel like it's an implied fact. Like one thing for somebody like myself who writes scripts and I do movies, right? You don't treat the audience like they're idiots. So if you have an HK-47, implied fact is if it's one from the other and he took over the foundry. So he took over the foundry and so that's obviously where the pieces of HK-47 were when we took him out in the foundry, then implied fact says this is the same HK-47, whether or not he's been mind wiped or not. So
I'd agree.
moving on to when we're fighting the Emperor, as we were going to say, is obviously showing some traits that are a little not like his own. Not the Emperor. I call him the Emperor, but Malgus, the false Emperor. Well, and what did you see in that
He is the
fight,
true
Jake?
emperor. Long live Malgus. Uh, well, it's interesting. Towards the end of the fight, Malgus basically starts saying that his destiny was to rebuild the empire, to tear it down and make it reborn. And it's not like a Sith to want to sacrifice himself for a greater cause. I mean, especially an empire that's not going to build statues and monuments after him. They consider him an enemy of the state essentially. So why would he? Again, it's just not like a Sith that actually want to sacrifice himself for the good. It's always sacrifice the other and stay in power as long as you can. I mean, all the Palpatine, Sidious. I mean, all the other great Sith masters. They want the power. They want to rule the universe. So why would he sacrifice himself unless maybe he was leaning a little towards the light side. Maybe, and that's where possibly Revan could come into influence with them being together. Maybe he saw the bigger picture and realized that he could have more power with the light side. I don't know. It just seems weird that he would sacrifice
Or
himself unless he was just so
maybe
arrogant
not
that.
more power with the light side. Maybe he saw more power on walking the middle ground, using both sides. Everything he talks about is well, we shouldn't actually persecute these lower beings, and that's what they are essentially. And if you look at Sith across the ages, they don't treat lower beings very well. So so that's where I start thinking there's obviously this change that's going off. There's this change that's going in him, that maybe he's walking this middle ground, this inability to just be dark. And I think that in order for that to happen, with HK-47 showing up, with the fact that we don't know if Revan's dead or not, whether or not when he was quoting his friend in the Foundry as he's quote unquote died, he was talking about the darkness of the Force or the darkness of death coming in on him. There's a lot of ambiguity going on here, just like we don't know. But if you look at what's being done, there's HK-47, there is Revan. Then in False Emperor, there's HK-47, and there is a Malgus who isn't acting quite the way a Sith Lord would act. I mean, what do you? I mean, okay, and thought process on this. I think I gave my thought process. I think we all know where I'm leaning. There's a connection between those two. Uh, if we look at these facts, where are you two standing?
Well, I'd like to take this a little bit further with the fact that with the Revan Malgus thing. Not per se Revan, but I'd like to take it further. It was something I did on my own research, but the initial starting storyline of McCabe with Lord Sitharath, the apprentice of Darth Malgus, and how he was more than willing to sacrifice himself to actually get the mission completed, other than instead of actually just letting people do his bidding and walk the hell away. It was different completely.
So you're saying that that's maybe the way Malgus was. That's the way he taught.
I think he eventually came to that point. I mean, Malgus at the very beginning was evil. He killed his own master on the initial strike on the space station overlooking Korriban. He was more than willing to destroy anything in his path during the Battle of Alderaan. He took sufficient pleasure in almost destroying the Jedi on Coruscant, and then all of a sudden he is uh, a person with a conscience. I mean, there's other lore that involves that, but at the same time, I mean, uh, you don't see a Sith Lord or and a Darth at that matter be so flip so 180 all of a sudden in the fact that he's trying to make a change instead of actually doing I mean, it was like a massive power play, but at the same time, if you won or lost, he didn't care. It was there's
Yeah,
going to be a
because
new empire no matter what.
yeah, it's not like he was saying he was so overconfident and like you're gonna die and I'm gonna get off this. It was, you know, whether I die or not, you know, the empire is being reborn. And that's almost like a Jedi thing, sacrificing yourself for the greater cause.
It's very much like Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan sacrificed himself to Darth Vader in order to help Luke escape because the greater good was Luke escaping because as he saw it, Luke was the future of the Jedi, which turned out to be very true. So, I think maybe he sacrificed himself, but I'm not sure the changes were made. I guess you can say the changes are made in this game because now you could be a Miraluka uh, Sith, so or an Imperial. So Malgus wins. they accepted they accepted aliens and whatnot. He wins. so, but I agree. His sacrifice was to the point of a very Jedi move, and the only way I can see him making that change is either Revan is alive and changed him, or even we talked about the Force ghosts in all the lore being able to change uh, somebody's mind, or sit back and fix a situation by coming back and providing insight.
Also, like to add that recently I've been actually working on a Sith Juggernaut light-sided completely, and it was based on the storyline with light side choices when it comes to Sith Warrior. It just felt like everything seemed to blend in real nicely, especially the way Malgus was acting at the very end in False Emperor is basically the same thing that happens when you make light side choices as a Sith Warrior. So it was actually interesting to see that. So you could see there was a Sith the Sith Lord that actually also was doing the same things, trying to tap into the light side a little bit, and and that's what it feels like. And there had to be someone who flipped them, and I'm pretty sure that was Revan, in my opinion.
So you're saying that when you play a Juggernaut light-sided, you're making similar life choices or similar choices that perceivably Malgus made in his end days.
Yes, very much.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to play through. I definitely did Dark Side, just how it felt right, but I'm gonna have to check that out, and we can talk about that more on in a later date. That's almost a topic in its own. But
Well,
any last
I'm
thoughts,
going to
Vic?
make an announcement and saying that Yeah, I'm making an announcement that I'm actually moving to Drummond Cost. I'm gonna go start a cult with our great, leader Malgus. So you guys gonna come join me?
Oh, we could put Malgus statues up, and offer the poor man or the new players the ability to repair, and like here you go while you're out dying.
We are the Malganites.
We're the
The
Malganites.
Malganites.
I'm in. If you're on the Bastion, you will catch Big, Raging Rondo, and Ignition, Drummond Koss, offering Malgus statues to the poor and unfortunate.
I'm probably hitting you with a few tinsel bombs
Oh
and
no, wait, Malgus statue you
as well.
repair from, right? Or is there even a Malgus? I thought it was a
Oh no,
Revan
no, I'm sorry.
statue.
Yeah,
Oh man,
no,
there's only a Revan
Malgus
statue.
statue is the class trainer. No, no, Malgus is the class trainer.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Malgus is the
Mm-hmm.
class trainer. Okay, cool.
I got him.
All right, cool. So what we're gonna do is we'll be out there on Drum and Koss offering in key points where they've been away for a while the ability to train. Okay. And we will be the Malganites. Moving on to Reddit news. Let's go ahead. I think I got one of the first ones tonight. It's something that's been bugging me. Grr, hatred. Gurrigan. There's been these like global. Has anybody else had this global cooldown problems in the last couple weeks? Noticing it?
Every time I'm playing my Sork, yes.
Right, and it seems like it's on boss fights where there's a lot of stuff going on. Well, it turns out that there was some global cooldown issues going on, where if you were experience a severe spike in performance, your GCD would be messing up, and also what they're saying is the second case is an actual logic issue in the ability system, and this is what we are fixing in 2.5.2. In this case, when the player is trying to activate an ability immediately following a global cooldown, the client sometimes fails to initiate the server request that still charges a GCD for the action. The player would have to wait for the additional global cooldown to finish without having the ability activate as intended. So what they're fixing is that global cooldown that would stop the ability from going off, or then the global cooldown would go and you'd have to wait for it again and then be able to do the ability.
Well, I mean, and as a healer, I mean, I wouldn't really know, especially as an operative healer. I wouldn't know because I'm putting my bots out, my hots out on them, and it's going to be ticking. So I don't really actually get to see them. Every so often, I'll look at the icon to see if they have one or two, or to make sure that I didn't recently place one on them. But for the most part, I'm good at remembering players. So I mean, as a healer and any other type of healer, you kind of wouldn't really know as well too.
Well, yeah, but for me, I mean, we're
With
talking
DPS,
like a pyro mercenary. My big thing is to get rail shots off after a power shot. So if I'm queuing my rail shot, like you can do with the 1 second queue, and then it doesn't go off, it's screwing up my rotation like
well, I'm the same
severely.
thing for the operative healer. We have that ability that's an instant when they're someone's below 30% health. So sometimes you're spamming that 3 or 4 times in a row. With them being below 30% health the whole entire time. So if we
No,
missed
that
one
was
of
just
those
them
or had to wait
nerfing.
an extra.
Yeah, that wasn't a
No,
GCD
I'm just
issue.
saying.
That was just a nerf, and you needed it.
No, I'm just saying there's other for DPS it could be a big issue, but for heals it could, definitely would be a big issue, but something people might not notice as much.
Okay, so I mean, I'm glad they're fixing it. It'll be nice to see what it'll do for us, or for me in general. What about you, Big? You have any Reddit news? Anything you saw interesting for this week?
Well, there was another hot topic out there, and one question is, do you like Huttball? And well, do you guys like Huttball, Ignitia?
Yes.
It reminds me of the days when I had to rush in the middle at in gym class and grab the ball before getting my face pelted in by the big guy, the big
Some,
bully. You know.
but 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 we can play dodgeball.
Oh, dodgeball days. I was the big kid, so they could always throw the ball and hit me because I hadn't like grown into myself yet. So I was all like falling all over the place. I'd run in and like trip and go onto the other side, and they just pelt balls down on me. Like, and that's a different topic. Bullies. They're bad. They're bad, bad bullies. They throw balls
No,
in your
I
face.
I like Huttball. I think it's an interesting concept that was pretty well done. I think it was pretty much. Uh, I believe a lot of people hate it like a lot right now is mainly because during the server downsizing way earlier in the game, uh, if that was all you were playing because it was either one side was either really heavy and the other was not. I mean, I remember doing PvP, and if I got a Void Star or Alderac Civil War or Alderon Civil War or any of those, it was just like, oh my God, something different, you know. And it, I mean, I think we got burned out a little bit on Huttball. I'd like to see other concepts come into play, kind of like we were saying last podcast, capture the flag or some other variants of it. But Huttball's great. I think it
That
was
could
a
be the
very,
new
very well
Huttball
done
map,
concept.
even, right? I mean, they haven't released anything on, or do you still think? Well, that's a good discussion. Do you think they're going to add more of a capture the flag element to the new Huttball, or do you think it's still run in the middle and go to your sides? Because, I mean, if they did capture the flag, it would change what Huttball is dramatically.
Yes, but I think Huttball is Huttball, and it's going to be the same way. It's going to be run to the middle, grab the ball, and go to the end zone. Except in this case, with the new one, which I believe was going to be set on Quesh, is probably going to have a lot different types of obstacles and directions and the way to play that map altogether. So it's going to be interesting and different, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the community response, I mean, Huttball's either one of those things people either hate or they love. I mean, there seems to be no real middle ground with Huttball.
Yeah.
So, I think the people that do hate it, I think a new Huttball map and a little bit of arenas will change. Just because it's so easy that if you get a team in there that's invent and they got that perfect combination, it's just makes it an easy stomp. And I mean, some of my best PvP games are been Huttball when just comes down to the wire. It's 5 versus 5, and you're about to score, and then the last couple of seconds, and the ball goes to someone else, and they end up winning or end up losing,
Yeah.
and so it's been some fun games.
Yeah, but you're an operative, dude. You should be loving Huttball. That's your freaking bread and butter.
Well, that's probably one of the things they're going to do with the new Huttball map is, with the jumps and stuff like that, make it more of certain areas where you're probably going to have to, abilities or certain areas you can't jump through or jump over, or, if you're going to jump over the fire, it'll be an instant death. So I'd like to see some balance where, one or two classes don't, basically dominate the game.
So actually, what was that? Beware 2. I like that name. I'm gonna see that all the time. I feel cool when I say that name. Beware 2. I'm just kidding. He said there are toxic traps on Quesh Huttball. What do you think? I think I can agree with that. I hate toxic traps because that's what kills me all the time. But either that or fire. So I guess either way. You think? Do you think we'll probably be seeing more toxic traps? You think it'll be more to do with that style of area?
I like to see
Hmm.
them do with that type of stuff is have it more of a dot on you. That way, because certain classes, Sorks, operatives, they can roll through it and take barely any damage. It would be nice that, if they walk through it for 1 second, they're going to get half their health no matter what. No matter how long you're in there, half your health is going to be taken off if you choose to run through there. Because a lot of times the people in Huttball,
That's
I
pretty
mean, you can just go
OP, man.
run.
You're gonna
Hmm.
take power techs back like a boss, man. You start doing stuff like that, pulling people into traps all day. And, like they'll do the what do they do what is it like where they put their hands up in the air? So they'll just be pulling people in and doing emotes all day.
Harpoon.
The,
Harpoon. Same with
Look at
assassin tanks. They're freaking force pulling them all over the place.
yeah, I mean, I that would be OP. Be like, wait, you mean you get them in the trap and they lose half their health? Bowling.
Well, I mean, in Huttball you can do that still, and pull them to the fire and then stun them, and they're essentially dead. It's just you got those classes. I mean, you guys are always complaining about us operatives and scoundrels roles being too overpowered, and we can just roll through that fire and the acid like nothing. We're gonna get one tiny little tick of it, and then that's it. So I
Yeah.
mean, it just seems like it'd be more fair if I was they have to sacrifice half their health if they want to be able to get to that ability.
Well, I would say that they
What would be
haven't elevated it for the new levels. Like you're still taking, well, the fire they definitely have, but not so much the ticks on the not so much the ticks in the toxin. I just feel like sometimes you get in it and you're like, look at me, I'm slowed, but I'm hopping out of it. It's not doing anything to me, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. You can jump through it as well. So if you're going through, if you jump in, you're going to land halfway through the acid. So you're only taking about half of it actually walking out. Then again, if you're someone with a speed or a roll, you're barely taking nothing at all from it.
Yeah. Well, all right. So Huttball, I hate it. They love it. It's like the community.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So let me see. PTS is up, guys. We have PTS up, so that should be fun. No new. I don't think we got nightmare modes yet in the PTS. Did anybody hear anything on that?
Not that I saw.
Yeah. Looks like a lot of GSF stuff, which is. Other than that, did Ignitia? Did you have anything that you? Oh, I know what he's going to talk about.
Well, first off, I would actually like to talk about my own class. Sorcerers having subversion now. Reduce the pushback suffered while activating lightning strike by 100%. Instead of 35 to 70, 35/70%, because I've noticed myself getting pushed back so often with that, and well, it's going to be nice, and I can kind of see it as a buff. But the one I would like to talk about,
Here we go.
and it's
Here we
been an
go.
concurring theme in Enmity podcasting for a little bit, is operatives, except I would like to take the middle tree. Oh, no more talk about
Okay,
lethality,
no
no more talk
lethality.
about
Okay,
the sawbones.
because
Yeah,
let's go. Top
No
bones
heals.
lethality. We're going down the
no
middle, just
heal.
like Revan. See, we tied it in.
Yeah, no
Nice, isn't
heals,
it?
no lethality. We're talking about concealment, and they are getting massively buffed with a lot of difference with the increases in percentages, guaranteed triggers with Collateral Strike when using laceration, uh, increases in damage way off the board. I mean, even though it's a slight different percentage here and there. Uh, the two that I actually liked seeing the most was what they did for meticulously kept blades. Now, additionally, increasing the critical damage dealt by laceration by 10, 20, 30%, and having it no longer increase the critical damage dealt by severed tendon, which is just a slow, in all opinion. You don't use it that often, not even on raid boss. So yeah, it didn't mean anything. And calculated frenzy, no longer increasing alacrity when triggered. Yes, it's going to suck for your energy management, but will now increase ranged and tech critical chance by 246% instead, which is very, very nice, and it will actually help in the long run of actually making concealment ops very, very viable in raids, and making us probably all pucker up when we actually see one in PvP now.
Or before you see them, because once you see them, you're dead.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right, so concealment ops. I mean, did you? I think past broadcasts. If you want to go to the Acheon Talks operatives, that was episode 16. You can go ahead and see all of our thoughts with Acheon, who played operative or scoundrel. So, other than that,
Or listen to
There
any
is
other,
I think
or
everything
go
else
listen.
is
there
Say go
is
listen to any of
one
their shows, and you'll hear talks about the op healer as well.
right.
there is one thing I would like to add though, real quick, and this was actually based off a mine from SWTOR miner earlier, and this is regarding the same class. Upper hand tactical advantage buff duration will increase from 10 to 15% or 15 seconds, and Excess freighter flyby slash orbital strike is now a 2.5-second cast that costs 10 energy with a 45-second cooldown. Its coefficient also was reduced by approximately 62%. What's your thoughts on that one?
You know, a nerf coming to that has been coming for far too long, and I think that's all that really needs to be said about that. It hits way too hard, and it was almost like a thing that we're like, you know what, we waited until 48 to give it to you guys, so we'll just make it insanely awesome. And I just think the nerf was coming. We all knew it was coming.
Yeah, I mean the reasoning behind the Nerf 2 was it was being used in a single target rotation. So orbital strike wasn't meant to be used, powerful on a single target. It's meant to be used, powerful on a group of ads. So a lot of people were able to work that into their rotation to get some good damage. I mean, if you get some crits, I mean, what ticks for 10k, like was it 3 or 4 times or so? I think with the set bonus.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So a nerf was
but
coming.
I'm sure.
Good for BioWare for finally doing what the community's pretty much asked for. Sorry, snipers.
I'm sure the snipers didn't ask for it.
I'm 100% sure they didn't, but I'm also 100% sure they needed it.
Get nerfed, big. Get nerfed.
Okay, so anybody else have any Reddit news, or did you want to move on? We have one last bit that Big put together tonight, and that was a bit on hardware for under $500 rig, right, Big?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started out with one of my old friends, Facebook friends, called me up, and we used to play this game together, and he finally got tired of playing it. He was bored with it, and he was looking to get a new game to get into. So I was telling him a little bit about Old Republic and giving him some tips, and then I thought, you know, it's Star Wars, it's lightsabers. Why am I trying to explain this to you? Get over and start playing. So he tried loading it up on his laptop, and it just crapped out on him. It was overheating, and just wasn't able to play Star Wars. So he asked me, he had a budget around $500-600 and wanted an affordable computer that would play Star Wars pretty well and allow him to do some other things as well. So, McNisha, we did some research and we were scouring the web for a while and doing some research to see, what we think we found a decent build that would allow you to play Star Wars pretty well. Um, what do you think, Nisha? You happy with the build we found?
Uh, yeah, I'm actually quite impressed with what we did. I mean, the system overall, without taxes, is actually $478, or $479 with some change. Uh, and most of the parts that will come with it are actually not bad at all. They're actually very, very reputable with decent, very, very decent companies when it comes to the hardware market. Uh, Especially revolving around Aces, Corsair, Kingston. Those are all very, very, very good parts when it comes to actually building a custom comp for cheap. And frankly, I'm actually was really, really surprised that, I mean, we made it to a point where has a really good 2 GB graphics card with a good AMD motherboard, and
Well, name the
running on a
parts. I
solid
mean, they're
state.
they're all going to be up on our website underneath, and you could buy them, any of these parts from Amazon, correct, Big?
Correct.
And so
And
they'll all be there. Any of these parts that we found, good parts for playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, can be found at our website. You just click on them there, and you can go and buy them if you're interested in. But tell us a little about the pieces that you picked. So just go down the line and tell us why you guys decided on them.
Well, first off, I mean, we can always go with what every great gamer needs, and that's a graphics card when it comes to trying to play some of these high-end games. And what we chose was the Asus 2 gigabyte GDDR5 DigiPlus VRM graphics cards. It runs at a 1020 megahertz overclock. It's so you don't have to really screw around with it too much. You can still tweak with the GPUs to make it even better and give status checks and everything like that. And with the fact that it's 2 gigs, it gives some of the best memory for actually doing your gaming.
Yeah, and we actually
How much did
recommend
that
for
one
this
cost?
one on the
That was actually probably one of the more expensive pieces, and that was
Okay.
$139.99.
Yeah, one of the hard drives that we recommended is a solid state hard drive. It just makes things a lot more efficiently. The operating system runs faster. You get a lot better boot times and shutdown times. It even seems to help with the loading screen in Star Wars. When I swapped out to my solid state hard drive, um, you get those planets. Tatooine still takes a little while for me to load, but I at least shaved a good 25% off. I'd say my loading times on a lot of those pain in the ass planets to load.
And what size was that?
It was 120. Yeah, so the size of the hard drive is 120 gigabytes, which it's decent enough to have Star Wars. I mean, generally, that's supposed to be enough
It's a pure
to run
gaming
Star
rig.
Wars.
Don't put a lot of
Yeah, don't
don't
load your
put a lot of
movies, don't
stuff
load
on
your
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
MP3s.
Okay, so that was again, that's the point of this is a gaming rig. So continue.
Yeah, for a little bit more, you can always bump it up. It's the Kingston's digital hard drive, so it's pretty good. It's the one I've been, the same brand I've been using for a while. So, if you need a little bit more memory, you can feel free to bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's on them
Yeah.
at that point if they want to spend a little bit more.
The next piece we went with was an actual Asus M5A97 AMD 970 SATA 6 gig motherboard. It is a uh, it is an AMD board. It's not your standard i5 i7 style thing, but AMD still makes pretty stable chipset. So and they're pretty cheap on the market. On top of that, I mean, it's a pretty standard board. I mean, it gives you uh, 2 SLI slots, 4 slots for your RAM, and a whole assortment of goodies if you actually want to stick any like wireless Ethernet port or anything like that into the play. It's very simple, very easy, just a very well-rounded motherboard overall.
Yeah, and these are the individual components, but I mean, it's really not too hard to put some things together, some YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we'll feel free to head over to our forums over at the 42 Gaming website, and feel free to ask any questions. A few of us are some hardware nerds, so we'll be more than happy to either try and help you out or point you somewhere if you get stuck with a particular
So
piece.
I would say we've gone over some of the more main pieces, right? And so, that's good enough for now. I mean, all the pieces are there if you want to go check it out at www.42gaming.com under Enmity Podcast episode 18. All of that stuff will be listed for you there. And thank you for catching us on episode 18. We enjoyed our conversation with Revan HK47 and Malgus, and we hope to see them soon. And we hope to see you again next week, 8:30 on Twitch. Friday nights, Pacific Standard Time. We had a great time tonight. Look forward to seeing you all next week for episode 19. Have a good one.